Hello, my magnificent Algebra 3 students. We are ready for another exciting online trip. Today, we will use right triangles to evaluate trigonometric functions. This is found in Chapter 7, Section 2 of our ebook. Let's review our trigonometric functions. There are 6 of them. Sine, the abbreviation SIN, cosine, abbreviation COS, tangent, abbreviation TAN, cosecant, abbreviation CSC, secant, abbreviation SEC, and cotangent, abbreviation COT. We are now going to define the trigonometric functions in terms of adjacent, opposite, and hypotenuse. You probably remember SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over the hypotenuse. See, sine opposite over the hypotenuse. Now, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So if sine is opposite over hypotenuse, then cosecant is hypotenuse over opposite. Cosine is adjacent over the hypotenuse, and secant is the reciprocal of cosine, so it is hypotenuse divided by the adjacent side. Tangent of theta will be the opposite over the adjacent, and cotangent is reciprocal of tangent, so it becomes the adjacent over the opposite. Here I have this right triangle. Here's my angle theta. I'm focusing in on this angle theta. When you have a right triangle and the two acute angles here of the right triangle, each acute angle will be made up of the hypotenuse and the adjacent side. So this other side that is not a side of one of the acute angles is the opposite side. So again, you got the sine and cosecant being reciprocals, the cosine and secant being reciprocals, the tangent and cotangent being reciprocals. And you remember this from SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over the adjacent. Now let's look at an example. We're going to find all 6 of these trig ratios. So we're going to use this triangle, and we're going to evaluate all 6 of the trig functions: sine theta, cosine of theta, tangent of theta, cosecant of theta, secant of theta, and cotan of theta. So we're focusing in on theta, and 4 is the adjacent side, 5 is the hypotenuse, and 3 is the opposite side. Sine of theta is opposite divided by the hypotenuse, so it's going to be 3 over 5. Remember that sine and cosecant are reciprocals. So if sine is 3 over 5, then cosecant would be what? 5 over 3. Cosine is 4 over 5, the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. And secant is the reciprocal of cosine. So if cosine is 4 over 5, then secant of theta is 5 over 4. Tangent of theta is 3 over 4. Tangent is opposite over the adjacent. And cotangent is reciprocal of tangent. So if tangent of theta is 3 over 4, then the cotangent will be 4 over 3. So here we have found the value of the 6 trigonometric functions using this ratio. And remember, we had to label the sides: adjacent, opposite, and hypotenuse. Let's look at another example. Given the triangle shown, find the cosine of theta. Well, here's theta. This side is the adjacent. This side is the hypotenuse. Remember, an acute angle of the right triangle is always made up of the adjacent side and the hypotenuse, and the other side is the opposite. So cosine is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse, which will be 15 over 17. Remember, I was talking about sine and cosecant are reciprocals. Another way to look at this is the following. Sine of theta is 1 divided by the cosecant of theta, or cosecant of theta is 1 divided by the sine of theta. On a lot of your TI graphing calculators, you do not have the cosecant. So you have to remember that cosecant is 1 divided by sine, because you do have the sine and the cosine and the tangent. And cosine of theta is 1 divided by secant of theta, and secant of theta will be 1 divided by the cosine of theta. Tan of theta is 1 divided by cotan of theta, so cotan of theta will be 1 divided by the costan of theta. So this is how you find the cosecant, the secant, and the cotan on a TI graphing calculator that does not have cosecant, secant, or cotan on it. Let's look at this for just a little bit here. You see sine of theta is equal to 1 divided by cosecant of theta. Well, cosecant is the hypotenuse divided by the opposite side. Well, dividing by something is the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So this becomes 1 times the opposite divided by the hypotenuse, which is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, which is the same thing as the sine. So I was just showing you that sine of theta equals 1 over cosecant of theta. You see they will be equal to the very same thing. And remember, as you're watching this video, remember to stop, rewind, review. Stop, rewind, review. My love goes out to you.